Good day to you, partner. I'm Guy, and I can already tell that I'll be your best friend in this forsaken camp.
Hey guys, Wheat Solo here, aka the Skeleton King. First off, I was wrong. Fire Golems are much better than when I played them. Now, I don't think I played them in Season 8. I believe I played them in Season 6 or Season 7 at the latest. It's possible I made a video in Season 8. So I like how maybe some people don't even know what's happening. Fire Golem was fixed, and people were freaking out about the damage. And I was watching everything going, I don't really see what's so impressive. It looks like the old Knives videos that I showcased, where Knives would stomp, everything would die in that 8-yard radius, and then he'd go to the next pack and everything would die. So I didn't see anything was wrong. But I used to play a variant of the build called Running Man. And in Running Man, you let the Fire Golem spread out. And from the clips I saw, it seemed like when a Fire Golem would be by itself, it did similar damage. But you know, when you stomp, it doesn't happen that much unless they were just kind of hanging around. I'm just saying it never happened that much, but I kind of felt like, oh, look, that was probably one Fire Golem. It looks like normal. Or, it's not. They are so much better. And what Cat Knight said is that they never worked. Is that the case? Maybe. Do they feel that much better? So I showed that graphic at the beginning. You can go back and look at it at any point. This is just to make myself feel a bit better. Is that in Season 8, their base damage was nerfed and their synergies increased. And I think the only thing we did at that point, and Topwood can correct me if I'm wrong, is we just checked the numbers. And the numbers actually showed them getting a slight buff with 100 points and in-game gear, and a slight nerf with budget gear, and also 2020 being just worse, because 2020 Fire Golem is a build. So that graphic on the screen was to showcase the Running Man map I did before. Unfortunately, I forgot to record how hard this map was, but this map was a little bit easier. It's less dense. They don't have velocity. Those are the two big things. Technically, the density doesn't matter too much, but maybe it would take a little bit longer. But mainly just the fact that the map I did, and it took me, I barely sub-7'd it, was a sub-7. And then this map is a sub-6 without monster velocity. And for anyone who doesn't know, monster velocity generally increases the speed of you clearing a map. Back to finish off my statement of whether they were always completely broken. In Season 5 and Season 6, with their higher base damage and lower synergies, how much synergy are you losing? You're losing, well, on my builds, you're losing like 60 points of synergies or like 240 ED. Yes, that's a big number. We never checked it, so maybe that's what happened. And just with their higher base damage, it must have just been possible because my gear is much better in the other video. I believe the tooltip on a similar skill distribution was reading closer to 13k. I don't even want to look at my gear completely. I mean, I know what it is. It's very good. How much better is it than the gear on this screen? It's honestly quite a bit better. Like, they're almost not even comparable. So just keep that in mind. And with Running Man, now I'm just going to talk about Running Man for a second because I like this build, and I'm kind of getting depressed thinking about how wrong we were. And mainly, now I'm worried about the fact that Fire Golems are going to get absolutely obliterated. So I did think this was funny. The Fire Golems got absolutely cucked by the boss. And so I have to resummon them, and then the boss keeps chasing me and kills a few more, so I got to resummon them again. And yeah, so this map didn't even go particularly well. And I feel like a moron. But worse than that, I don't know what they're going to do to Fire Golem. So if they keep it as a stomp build, I think that's a terrible solution. But basically how a stomp build has to work is you have to basically kill everything in one stomp, especially considering they only attack once every 25 frames. But if that is what it is, technically you could still run that for budget farming, and you could still play it in-game and get respectable times because your stomp is just that powerful. And even though it's only 8 yards, you know, stomping and killing everything in 8 yards once every 25 frames isn't bad. There are classes that can map worse than that. But I don't want that. But this is clearly too good for Running Man. I'm at a loss for words. Canite said he wants to nerf it by 70%. Just thinking about it, how their base damage was nerfed, but their synergies improved in Season 8. I think they should start by... I think they should just start with one of two directions, and it's just based on them and how they'd like the build to be played. They could either start by reducing the base damage and keeping the synergies intact, or what they could do is reduce the synergies. Well, I guess they can't really do that. Do a little bit of both. You can't actually just remove synergies or nerf synergies and keep the base damage the same. Because they would be still too good, even with the base damage nerf that they got. I guess true. I don't know what it is, but I mean, 3 damage per hard point, like all across the board at different levels, would add up. So maybe that is possible because again, the content I have was when Fire Golems had slightly higher base damage on their aura. So maybe what they could do is nerf the base damage a little bit and then nerf synergies a little bit. And the build could be played in multiple ways, where it could be in addition to a Necromancer, whether it's revives or mages or both. You can do all 3. You can do revives, mages, and fire golems. I'd like to see that. I'd also like to see it to be valuable to make it a 100-point build, because I think it's legitimately the only reason to play 100-point golems, and max golem build is sick. We all know that. So I feel like I'm on suicide watch, and I want to call a suicide hotline because... like, I've always liked this build. I don't get to take credit for it. I believe Knife Wrench was trying to figure out how to run Infinity on a Necromancer, and I don't know whose idea was it to put it in the melee weapon first, but when I was trying the staff, or whoever tried it, it just doesn't proc enough, so you have to switch it to a scythe. And putting it in the scythe really makes this build work, because basically what you do is you go max energy, and you get a 1.5k bone armor and a 1.5k cyclone armor. And, you know, with how fast you are with the Vigor Merc. And I love this build. I love this build. In fact, I almost want to try it with Hustle, just to see how fast you could run, but you'd probably be too fast at that point. Please don't kill it. Skelly King out. GG.
Come play with us, Daddy.